Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Before I start, I would like to say that, as mentioned previously, I am in Level 2 of Innovative Planning, and this is my third speech. Help! I need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help! You know I need someone. Help! These words were spoken by, or rather sung by, a very famous band known as the Beatles. And although this song is written mostly for a love song, I think that it can be used in other ways, by really showing that sometimes you need to ask for help. Now, there are a lot of situations where we may need help, and we may need to ask for that guidance. But how do we know that situation? How do we go and find someone to be that mentor? Well, I have learned in over several years that there are many ways to find a mentor, and sometimes you need to be able to gather that quickly so you can ask for help and become that protege. When starting looking into this project, I thought I knew exactly who I wanted to write this on. I was going to write it on my band director from high school, Dr. Heil. Doc taught us a lot of things in band. He taught us, first, it is very important to be on time. Timeliness is key, because if you are not there, the band will still start without you. Second, he taught us a lot about practicing and that self-motivation, because if you don't practice and you don't show up, you will not only let yourself down, but everyone else down around you. And then third, he also taught us a lot about leadership, because I was able to have several leadership roles while I was in band. But there was one thing I thought about when I was thinking back about Dr. Heil, and that was that he taught us more in a coaching style instead of mentoring. And that is one thing Toastmasters really want to reiterate during this time, is that there's a difference between being a coach and being a mentor. A coach is someone who wants to accomplish those short-term goals quickly, not really envisioning that long-term plan, while that mentor is going to help you with that long-term plan. So for example, we would have playing tests in band, where our band director would ask us to memorize X amount of bars and really rehearse those and have them down well. They're usually the hardest part of the song. But one thing with that is that it was more of a coaching style, helping us get to that piece, not necessarily our long-term development in the end. Another difference between being that coach and being that mentor is that a coach will sometimes choose those goals for you. He chose that piece of music and chose which parts we were going to play. Well, if I was working with a mentor, they would say, where do you want to focus on? How do you think this is going to help you long term? What pieces will give you those technical skills that you need to play later on? So now it was back to the drawing board. Who was I going to talk about as my mentor? And then it hit me. I had more than one mentor recently, and that was when I was in my rotational program with H&I Corporation. So as some of you may know, I was a rotational engineer for the past year. Now I'm in a full-time role. And during that time, we were given managers and mentors to work with. Now sometimes those mentors were actually mentoring. They really helped you think more and create those long-term goals and plans for what you wanted to do. But then there were a lot who were more that coaching style. Here's this project, this is what I think you should accomplish, here's how you can accomplish it. So through this time, there are three main mentors that stick out in my head that have helped me out. The first is Mark. So Mark is someone I met through my quality rotation. And he was very big on all the different tools that you can use to learn something. And I always came in with a narrow focus, thinking there's only one way to approach this problem. Obviously, it's quality, let's look at the data. And he would say, no, let's look at something else. Maybe it's the process. Maybe it's something earlier in customer service. Maybe it's something farther down the line. And I was so focused on that manufacturing part being like, data! And he would say, let's take a step back. And he used personal experiences and let me really learn with him how I was supposed to actually do that quality stuff. So from Mark, I really learned how to have that open mind when it comes to problems. Don't come in narrow focused. And I've been able to grow on that since then. My second mentor that really has stuck out to me was my mentor, Tim, in product. Now, as I mentioned, I'm manufacturing focused, so when it came to product, I was very scared. I did not know how to design things. I was not very sure how to use the software and what was the best way to use the software, so I was freaking out. And Tim came in and he said, I know you don't have like product knowledge. And I said, you're right. And he came in and taught me what are the skills needed to get there. He also taught me that things aren't going to work well the first time. I designed this really cool chair frame and I was so excited. I went out to the manufacturing plant, helped them put it together, and right away I was told, Rebecca, this isn't going to work. And I was thinking, how? We worked so hard on this, we calculated the numbers, and he said, okay, well, this is something that will happen. It's not always going to work the right time because you're not going to have all the necessary tools right away. You're not going to have all the necessary equipment that you're going to need to create it exactly how you want. And with his help, I realized, okay, you're not going to always succeed the first time, but there are ways to keep trying until you get there. And then my third mentor that really helped me out was when I was transitioning from my rotational role to my full-time role. And that was my mentor, Katie. She really taught me what it's like to continue to learn, how to go about doing that. She used personal experiences of how she transitioned in the rotational program and taught me who was the best to go to, how to go about doing it, and how to find those solutions. So she really taught how to be a better learner and mentored me in knowing those skills so I could use them later on. While being a protege, I really learned the aspect of asking for help. It was very important to be able to ask for help and have the trust in someone and grow and build that relationship with them. I now know how to handle certain situations. I now know what it's like to have an open mind. I know what it is like to continue to learn and know what the best areas to go to. And I also know that things won't always work the first time. And with that, I really have learned how to become a better learner, how to become a better protege, and also how to take those skills and become a mentor myself. With that, I encourage you that anytime you think you may need a mentor or may need some assistance, just do what the Beatles say and ask for help. Thank you.
I don't remember ever mentoring anybody. I'm sure I have. And I know at my age I've been mentored quite often. In fact, I have a story about a very memorable mentor that someday perhaps I'll share with this group. But I truly enjoyed hearing Rebecca's story tonight about her mentors. One of the things that I think Rebecca does extremely well is she uses gestures. Her hands are always flying. And one of the things that I particularly enjoyed was that you outlined one point, a second point, and a third point that always helps your listeners zero in on the main features that you are trying to get over to them. So again, that's excellent, and I think you should continue to practice with your gestures because you're already doing a great job in enhancing your speech with body language. Really brings home important points. Also, I thought that your eye contact was outstanding. You looked directly at different audience members as you were presenting different aspects of the presentation. You smile. When you're recalling a memory, you're getting across to us with your gestures, your facial expressions, and your vocal body. The one suggestion I have for continuing to work on would be that maybe it's because I'm getting older, and I know my crotchety old husband frequently tells young people, slow down. And I thought that was one area where perhaps if you had slowed down just a little bit in your presentation, that your enunciation would have been a little more precise at different points. Because then you would have the time, as you are speaking more slowly, to get everything across to us, and you wouldn't have to kind of swallow your air. It asked me to make a suggestion on how you could challenge yourself. Well, I don't know. I sat there and I thought about that because I think you're making excellent progress. But what I did think was that this particular speech, if you gave it again, perhaps you might want to compact the first part where you talked about the difference between a coach and a mentor and spend a little more time explaining about how the mentors that you had experienced were so important to you. So great job. I think you have done extremely well with your progress through the program, and I look forward to the next presentation.